Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webcast, How to Boost Productivity and Increase ROI with AR Automation. My name is Brooke Bacon, Marketing Lead with GSI, and I'm also very pleased to welcome our main presenters, Ryan Becker and Sean Gracie from VersaPay. And now before we get started, I wanted to give you a chance to review our Safe Harbor Statement. And now for a quick overview of today's meeting, which will last about 60 minutes. First, we would like to take a moment to go over a couple of housekeeping items as well as provide a brief company overview. And then I will turn it over to Ryan and Sean to get into our main presentation, which will last about 40 minutes. Then we'll take a minute to go over our upcoming educational events, and then we will wrap up with a 10-minute question and answer section. If you would like to submit a question, you can do so through the questions panel at the bottom of the GoToWebinar console window located on the right side of your screen. Please note that all questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. And if you'd like to minimize your GoToWebinar console during the presentation, just click the right-facing arrow key on the top left of the console. Clicking the left arrow key will return the console so that you can input your questions. And now I'd like to give you a brief overview of GSI. GSI is a full-service J.D. Edwards consulting organization. We are an Oracle Platinum partner that was founded in 2004 and now has over 100 employees. And we have offices nationwide and are recognized in the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies in the U.S. We specialize in project consulting, managed services, cloud and hosting services, with all of our services backed with a 100% guarantee. And we also provide a broad spectrum of business, functional, and technical consulting services for Oracle NetSuite, Oracle Cloud, Salesforce, ServiceNow, and other enterprise applications. And in addition, we are a product development company that has many popular products, including Genius, which is our advanced monitoring and performance analytics solution for J.D. Edwards or any business critical system on any platform. Genesis, which is our load and stress testing application for system design, validation, or expansion for J.D. Edwards or any web-based business critical system. And G Shield, which is our comprehensive security solution for J.D. Edwards, including password reset and two-factor authentication. Rapid Reconciler, which allows you to effectively manage your inventory, in-transit, and R&V reconciliation processes for any version of E1 or World. And Rapid Approval, which is a Salesforce App Exchange solution that streamlines the approval request process. All right, and before I turn things over to Ryan and Sean, we would just like for you to answer a quick poll question that we have. And it should show up on your screen. And it says, what percentage of your accounts receivable is past terms? So we'll give you a minute to answer that. All right, in about 15 more seconds, and then we'll get started. All right, it looks like so far 33% said 1 to 20%, 50% said 21 to 40%, and 17% said 40 to 60%. And Brian and Sean, can you guys hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you so much. All right, so now I'm going to turn things over to Ryan and Sean for our main presentation.
Hey, Brooke, will you just confirm that you can see the homepage here, please?
I can.
Thank you so much. So, Brooke, thank you for that introduction. I also first want to thank everybody for joining the webinar here today. Really what we want to talk about is increasing efficiency and achieving ROI through accounts receivable automation. Hopefully, some of the topics that we cover will walk you through areas that maybe internally that you guys could explore to help generate that ROI and really see some efficiencies. So today's agenda, just want to outline what we'll do. So I want to give you guys first really an introduction to today's AR landscapes, what we're seeing in the market, some of the current challenges, and really where we can see ROI really affect our bottom line. We will also talk about accounts receivable automation. What does that look like? How does it function? And what can it do for your business? We will touch on integrations, how data points flowing back and forth can help also achieve that ROI. We will then walk through VersaPay's ARC platform, which is an accounts receivable platform, to show you what a product looks like and how we could help with that, and then open that up to questions and answers. So I definitely encourage everybody as we go through, if you have a question, please do feel free to put it in the chat box. We will answer all questions at the end of the session. If we don't get to all of them, we'll definitely follow up afterwards. But again, we appreciate everybody for joining. So just a quick little background on who we are and where we came from. It's always great to know, who you're chatting with. And as an organization here at VersaPay, we were founded in 2006, and we really were focused on B2B payments. So what that was running the rails for transactions for business-to-business credit sales. About 4 years ago, we created the ARC solution. The ARC solution really focused on automating the way that accounts receivable is handled today. Along the way, we've really took a partnership approach in how we go to market. We've partnered with GSI in the last year here to really bring this product to market and ensure that at the end of the day, you guys are educated on what kind of solutions are out there when it comes to increasing your efficiencies on AR. And over 110,000 businesses today review and pay invoices online through our platform. So if you were to step back and look at us as a whole, really our mission is to drive a sea change in the way that companies manage their accounts receivable. So that really kind of sets the stage for who we are, where we come from, and what we want to talk about with you guys today. So if we were to look at today's landscape, and I challenge everybody to think about your accounts receivable process today and what does it look like. When we talk to many organizations, it's really about aging reports or using Excel spreadsheets to pull the data of open AR. From there, some of the challenges that you see with this formatting on collecting is the fact that once that report has been pulled, chances are, you may create a new invoice or a payment has been made. That data is stagnant. So having stagnant data really doesn't reflect the true collections or what needs to be collected on at that current state. A lot of other things that we see, which, applies to inefficiencies, is the fact that manual assignments will start to happen from there. When we look at, the Excel spreadsheet and who should be collecting on what, it becomes a very messy process in order to try to figure that out. So really what we want to do is consolidate all that information, give you it in real-time data, and be able to actively work through the accounts as needed. So let's flip to the other screen here. Oh, sorry guys, we're having a difficulty moving to the next screen. Sorry about that, guys. A little frozen here. We really wanted to talk about what we see. So we on the left-hand side, you see laggard organizations. These are organizations that we talk to on a day-to-day basis, and what their collections process is a very manual state. When we look at invoices are being printed and sent through snail mail. Obviously, there's much more efficient ways to do business and send out invoices to our customers. When we look at payments, when we're talking about taking payments, we could be receiving, manual payments such as checks, ACH, EFT. We really haven't streamlined the process in which how we get paid. What this ultimately can lead to is higher DSO. If you think about, just sending it in an average mail, 3 to 4 business days could be pretty standard for how long it takes for a check to get in the mail. If we were to digitize that, we could really streamline and speed up the process in which it takes to get paid. And really where we see a lot of the problems for organization is really around reconciliation. When you think about cash application, if you're receiving a whole bunch of checks, and trying to work out the back office and the remittance data for all those checks, it can be really a cumbersome process. So as we move to the right-hand side of the screen, we really look at the leaders in this space and what they've done. And what it looks like is online invoice presentment, digitally presenting invoices to your customers, giving them a better way to access that data and be able to make payments. We talk about electronic payments, giving them a better platform to jump in, take a look at their invoices, pay through a PCI level 1 compliant manner. What this ultimately will do is give the customer a better experience and help them lower their DSO by giving them better tools. And a couple of statistics that stand out is 69% of organizations expect to begin the transition to electronic payments in the near future. I want to challenge you guys again to think internally, where are you guys in that digital transformation state? Are you guys thinking about changing? Are you changing today? Are you currently in the process? Or is this something that's not even on your radar? So it's really something to think about. A couple other key statistics that we pulled, and really this is from the Association of Financial Professionals, and 70% of business respondents believe it's likely their organization will convert majority of their payments to electronics within the next 3 years. Again, where are you guys in that transformation? Are you in the beginning stages? Are you in the end stages? Is this something you've even considered? Fact number 2, or stat number 2, is 94% consider it important that faster payments are smart and are able to carry extensive remittance information. So this really leads to that back-end office process that I talked about. Are you manually today trying to understand what checks are paying for what invoices? Using smarter platforms will allow you to eliminate that day-to-day task. And obviously, financial leaders are saying that this is extremely important for them. And then last but not least, this is a trend that we want to capture. 44% of typical organizations receive its B2B payments by check, compared to 50% in 2013 and 54 in 2010. So as you can see, checks are becoming less and less. And how are you guys accommodating for that is the question. Sorry guys, it's slow to change screens for whatever reason. So one of the questions I wanted to also pose was, what is your average DSO? So days sales outstanding. And one of the statistics, or one of the studies done by PwC, it's working capital study, looked at some of the key areas or the key verticals in which, what is the average days it takes to get paid. And, if you look at these verticals, they vary based on, where they're at in their digital transformation, based on terms. But again, this is something that we want to share with you guys, because if you guys are in this vertical, are you guys a leader? Are you guys status quo, or are you above? If you're above, maybe this is something you should be looking at. If you're status quo, and you're on target, well, what are we doing to beat our competitors or to move forward quicker? One of the things that resonates with me and resonates with a lot of the clients that we work with is, cash flow is king for a lot of these verticals. So getting that cash flow in to reinvest into your business can become extremely important. So lowering your DSO will directly attribute to that health and the growth of your business. So here's a quick infographic that talks about, current processes for a lot of collections team. And really what this is demonstrating is that it's a maze. There's a lot of traps along the way. When we look at it, you could look at lost invoices, no visibility in how your customers are interacting with your invoices, potential for human error. That leads to unhappy customers, high DSO, and typically higher DSO is going to run into higher costs. So what do we really want to do? We want to eliminate those barriers. We want to eliminate those catches, and we really want to streamline the process, put platforms in place that lower costs, lower the time that it takes to get paid, and give us much more visibility into how our customers are interacting with our invoices. So why would you want to automate? So these are some of the 4 reasons that we see a lot of organizations look to automate. First, it's getting paid faster. On average, we see organizations get paid 5 to 25 days faster, depending on vertical. On top of that, increasing the efficiency, we can lower AR costs by upwards of 50% by really eliminating the day-to-day tasks that it takes to collect and allowing those traditional activities to be reinvested in the business or reallocate those activities into more productive ones. Besides that, we also like to talk about giving the customer a much better experience. So what that actually does is allows us to get ahead of collections and work with our customers on a more one-off basis as needed, giving them much better support and better tools to make payments online and really, give them a better experience when doing business with us. So our solution has been built around 6 core pillars. So the first is really about invoice presentment. So what that looks like is digitally presenting the invoice to your customer. What we can do is we can actually build out cadences based on the individual customer type. We can send invoices as much as we need to or as little. So at this rate, if you have customers that need more, that need to be the invoice sent to more often than not because they've traditionally been bad payers, we absolutely can do that. We move into pillar number 2. It's built around collaboration. So collaboration is a communicative tool between what we call the supplier and the distributor, so the customer and your internal team. And what it's very similar to is LinkedIn, where we tokenize all emails. So that way we can centralize the communication between the customer as well as your internal collections team or anybody else that is associated with the platform. And this is more like a CRM for collections, giving you that centralized location. Number 3 is around collections. So what this really does is automate those tasks, as I had mentioned before, and the follow-ups and the day-to-day activities, really allowing you to set your collections on autopilot for 90% of the customers who want to pay on time, and allowing you to focus on the customers who need a little bit more hand-holding in order to make those payments happen. Number 4 is around payments. So obviously to get paid faster, we should be giving our customers better tools to make those payments happen. So with that being said, our platform is PCI Level 1 compliant. We can accept ACH, EFT, and credit card payments. And what will actually happen is once the payment has been made, we will reconcile that invoice, close it out, integrate it back into JD Edwards, and deposit the funds within the settlement account within 24 hours due to our pre-funding abilities. And then last but not least is pillar number 6, and it's around insights and visibility. So we want to give you guys the visibility of how your customers are interacting with the platform, interacting with your invoices, so that way you can understand potentially why they're not paying and action those items to ensure that we get those customers over the hump to make those payments. Last but not least, data points integrating back into your ERP. This is a direct impact on your ROI and efficiencies. So VersaPay has the ability to pull your information, your OpenAR information directly out of JD Edwards, bring it into ARC where we will distribute those invoices. Once they've been paid, we can seamlessly integrate that back. Closing out all systems, eliminating the need for human intervention and potential for human error. Again, this is a direct impact on efficiencies on back end, allowing you guys to continue to scale and continue to work in a most efficient manner possible. So I believe this is where we're going to post our second poll question. And Brooke, I believe you are going to bring that up, correct?
Yep, give me 1 second. Let's see here.
So the question we wanted to pose to you guys is, how many hours a week does your finance team spend on collection activities? 1 to 5 hours, 6 to 10 hours, 11 to 15 hours, 16 to 20 hours, or 21 to 25 hours. These are some of the common responses that we see from organizations, so we'd love to gain your feedback on where you sit in the spectrum.
You know, Ryan, I think it froze on us. So maybe if we, let me try and get it unfrozen here. It said it closed it out. So do you guys want to continue in with your presentation and I'll see if I can get it working again?
Yeah, no problem. I was
Okay, sorry
having
about that.
troubles with my slide screen as well, but
Sorry about that.
no problem. That being said, we're going to pass the presentation over to Sean now. Sean is going to actually take us through ARC, Accounts Receivable Cloud Platform by VersaPay, and we'll show you both sides of the experience, what the collector side would look like, as well as what your customer experience would look like. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the box, and we'll be sure to answer them as we exit out of the presentation here.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ryan. Hi, everyone. So you're seeing a representation of what Ryan was just talking about there, where we have a customer portal on the right-hand side. This can be fully branded, color schema, splash image, logo, things like that, so that it's a really easy access point for your customers and a seamless experience and compared to what they're used to being presented. And we're going to focus on this for the second half of the demonstration. First off, we're going to dive into the collections portal. In here, this is of course plugged directly into JDE, so all the customer information, invoices, any payments that were applied manually directly in the ERP, that's all going to flow into ARC so that you can always have an up-to-date view as to where AR stands on a moment-to-moment basis, including how collections have gone in months past, and also metrics like DSO and how DSO is trending over time as well. Ultimately, as all this information is being sourced from your ERP and customers are adopting onto the platform and using it more and more for disputes and payments, the goal is really to help decrease that DSO by giving customers as many options and preferences as possible around making those payments and viewing their invoices. You'll see that as we move through the demonstration today. In terms of using the collections portal, everything is hyperlinked so that collectors or anyone else with an interest in AR can really maneuver through the system so as to look at really just areas of concern. VersaPay ARC is really an exception-based collections tool, and that's due to the automation that is programmable within the system. There are over 150 notifications within ARC that can be sent out to customers at different cadences surrounding different items. Those items might be things like overdue invoices, so as you hit your different aging profiles, sending reminders, sort of changing the language maybe as something becomes more and more overdue or if dunning notices are required. But it can also be around things like statements, information around payments that the customer is processing, or even things that are really hard to track, like if a customer has a credit card on file, is that credit card about to expire? Really trying to keep ahead of collections issues that, if unheeded, will usually result in payments being delayed in some way, or someone now has to wait to get the new expiration date on a corporate card or something like that when they go to pay. ARC really helps facilitate all those manual processes that are difficult to track or keep an eye on, so that again, collectors can really just respond to issues that really requires the human touch as opposed to automation or AI. So for instance, a customer can jump into the, a collector can jump into the customers tab, and they might want to start filtering their work down so that they can focus on some of those specific areas of concern. So I can filter my customers based on aging profiles, so who's significantly overdue, 90+ days here. And maybe I want to look up accounts that have a warning flag of some kind. Warning flags can be things like email delivery problems, so if an email bounced back or couldn't be delivered, or even things like disputes or comments that customers have raised on invoices. So you can quickly take a long list of customers, hundreds or thousands of customers, and really just narrow it down to a few that I might actually have to reach out to today as a collector. Now, of course, just to be clear, if anything like this does come up, like an email delivery issue or a dispute, collectors will be notified about that immediately through their inbox, their personal email, so they'll be able to respond to it right then and there. But this is just to show that you can use the dashboards within ARC to really take all of the disputes or maybe all of the issues around payments and quickly filter down to those ones to work off of this dashboard. So if I jump into a specific customer profile, we get that sort of front-end dashboard view again, but now it's specific to just this one customer. So what's their DSO? How has collections gone over the last few months with this customer? I can quickly jump to areas of concern within their AR. So for instance, if I click to look at their 30 to 60 day aging bucket, we're taken into the next tab, but everything is filtered down based on the criteria from the previous screen. So here, I can see a lot of really valuable information. For instance, this delivery column. This is going to show what happened really after the invoice went out to the customer. Not only did the email send and deliver successfully, but was the email opened? Was it viewed? Which means that a customer actually clicked a link within the email and came into ARC. This provides valuable information about customer adoption to the platform, so you can see how any customer is really picking up and using the platform and seeing sort of an ROI there. But also valuable context for the collector themselves. Before they pick up the phone and talk to the customer, they'll know that the customer has engaged with the invoice in some way, or at least seen it, is aware of it. If they notice that none of the customer's emails are open, is it a question of maybe having the wrong email address on file? Maybe that AP person has moved on, and we need to update that contact information. So really good information just around the delivery of the invoice to the customer and their engagement with it. Additionally, I can see some other icons here that can help. So although this invoice is over 30 days due, I'm actually not worried about it as a collector because I can see that my customer is actually scheduled in for payment in a few days. That's a really valuable plus on the customer side, where payments can be scheduled to proceed at the customer's preference. So rather than making a promise to pay, you have a guarantee to pay. There's no chance that the customer is going to forget about going in and making that payment because it's actually been scheduled in the system and will be processed automatically. Up here, I can see that there is a dispute raised on an invoice. So if I just click on that invoice, I can view the actual invoice to get some additional context around it. So I can see the line items, the header information. This is all brought over once again from JDE. And I can even see that there was a partial payment that was applied to this invoice with a remaining balance here. But for some reason, the customer didn't pay the rest. And here they've identified that there is an issue with the quantity cost. Now, there's a few different things that I can do as a collector to kind of respond to this. The very first thing is when I receive the original email notification saying that a dispute was raised, and this is the dispute, as a collector, I can respond directly from my inbox to that customer. Of course, it'll send an email to the customer, but it'll also update within ARC itself. So there's a full audit trail of any communication between the collector and the customer since the conversation was initiated from within ARC. This benefits the rest of the collections team and anyone else in finance who might be trying to get visibility into why certain invoices aren't being paid. Rather than that conversation being vaulted in someone's inbox, it's available for anyone in the organization to see here within ARC. So there's no picking up the phone and calling someone who's actually already been called or emailed or anything like that. It's all lodged within ARC here. Another way I can respond is by making a comment directly in ARC. So this is just like emailing the customer from your inbox. You can make a shared comment to maybe let them know that you're looking into it. And then you might want to make an internal comment, maybe to someone specific within the organization, maybe someone who has access to JD Edwards, just to say, hey, can you look into this client request for me or this dispute? That internal comment won't be viewable to the end customer, but it will be viewable to anyone who's using the collections portal so that, again, everyone knows sort of what's happening with this customer to ensure that their dispute gets resolved. This is also a great way to log calls that you've had with the customer or any follow-ups as well. Certainly, there are follow-ups that can be scheduled on the customer profile itself as well. This would be a specific reminder to a collector on a specific date at a specific time. So this would trigger an email notification to them. And of course, if they're logged into the collections portal, they'd be able to see any pending follow-ups right in the top taskbar if need be. Now, maybe a collector gets on the phone with the customer, explains the situation, and the customer says, "That's fine, that's great. I would like to pay the rest of the invoice. Can you take my credit card over the phone and process that payment? Or use an existing credit card I have on file to process that payment?" Well, collectors now have a PCI compliant environment where they can actually enter that payment information risk-free. Additionally, they can select an existing payment method if the customer's already logged that in the system. They can make a short payment if that's what they're instructed to do by the customer. They can choose to have that payment processed immediately, or if the customer is making a promise to pay, they say that they're going to pay the invoice, but it has to wait till the end of the month. Why not ask to schedule it on their behalf? So that, again, you don't have to worry about the customer forgetting or a collector having to get on the phone to remind them a day before, the day of, 10 days after it's, been promised already and it hasn't been paid. It just provides a better customer experience overall, where you're taking some of the responsibility off of them, so to speak, and also ensures that you're getting paid, you're decreasing that DSO over time, simply because customers have more options and can go with their preferences instead. So we'll just take a few steps back here and go to the customer profile yet again. There's some additional information that flows in from JDE. Of course, there's the primary contact or bill to contact, who will be utilized to start sending out notifications around invoices and things of that nature, any of the automation that's been set up in the platform. They have the ability, though, to add additional members of their team to the platform as well. So they can really add as many people as they want. If they're part of a team of 10 AP people, they could add them. And really having more eyes on invoices that are coming in guarantees that disputes and questions are going to be raised sooner and therefore resolved faster. And ultimately, payments as well will flow in a lot faster. So again, just creating that better customer experience overall. There's also the concept of an internal team. Internal teams would be obviously people like your collectors who might be assigned to specific customer accounts. But this can also be used, once again, to create a better customer experience overall by adding salespeople or customer success managers and people of that like. If you think of, one of the first or early indicators that a customer is unhappy about something, it's usually unpaid invoices. So why not have individuals who have more of a reputation or a relationship with the customer reach out instead of a collector who's asking for money? It just creates a better customer experience. Below that, there's a full audit trail of all engagements that the end customer is having with the platform. So invoices that are being issued out to them, invoices that are being viewed, being paid, and ultimately any comments or disputes that are raised on those invoices as well. That information can be filtered down if you're looking for some specific metrics, or if you're looking to maybe export all of the customer comments out of the system into a CRM, it can be utilized in that respect. So that's a high-level overview of the collections portal. We're now going to move into the customer experience. This is really going to be an important area when it comes to things like adoption and things like that. There really is no ROI if your customers aren't using the platform to start making payments and raising questions. So once again, it would be a fully branded portal with company logo, color schema, and things like that. So ultimately, the customer doesn't feel like they're going into a completely different experience. It's consistent with your branding, and it would make perfect sense to them. But really, before a customer ever sees a login screen, if they ever see a login screen, the story for them is really going to start in their inbox. This is where they're going to start receiving notifications around invoices. It would be a branded email address that goes out with some basic header information around the invoice. There can be a PDF of the invoice attached to the email, which is a requirement in some instances, but we encourage not to put a PDF of it, as it encourages higher customer adoption to force them to click a link before they can view the invoice. So they can view the invoice directly. They can view all of their invoices, all the outstanding AR, or with just one click, they can really just jump right to the payment screen to process a payment, even if they've never logged into the platform before. That's due to the express tokenized experience that ARC provides to customers. Obviously, if it's the first time that they're logging in, they won't have any previously entered payment options. They'd have to add a bank account or a credit card. But really, it's only at that point that they're going to be asked to create a password. So you're really going to have two different types of customers. There are customers who are billed inconsistently or one-off. Those customers are the types that don't want to sign up for a platform just to make a one-time payment. So ARC offers this way to get an express experience into the platform to make a payment. And if they don't want to create a password, it's just like shopping as a guest on Amazon. You don't need to have an account in order to purchase something. So ARC will allow the customer to make that one-time payment, and it will just clear their information after they process the transaction. So if they were to ever come into ARC again, they would have to re-enter that credit card or bank account for payment. Then there's your other group of users. Now these are individuals who might be billed more consistently, either monthly or they just purchase services frequently. And these people are more likely to create a password to vault that information. But one thing that's been noticed in the industry is if you present something like an invoice to someone and they click a link from their email, and right away they're asked to create an account, create a password. That password isn't secure. You need to create another password. Now think of 2 security questions. When people are faced with that sort of thing, especially people who are busy in finance, they often just say, you know what, I'm going to worry about this another time. I don't have time for this right now. And that usually means that they don't bother signing up. There are the other individuals too who get presented with something like that and say, I'm just going to keep doing what I've always done, write a check. So really, in order to guarantee the adoption of these customers, giving them an express experience where they can come in, they can view invoices, they can raise disputes or comments, and they can go about making a payment, they've already had a chance to engage with the platform. They've already had a chance to see the value of using it to make payments and to view invoices and things of that nature. So by the time they're asked to actually create a password to save their payment information, they often choose to do that. Or they can say, you know what, I don't have time to create an account right now, but the next time they receive an invoice, they're going to be able to jump right into the platform and do the same thing over again. And maybe that time they decide to vault the payment information with a password. So this is one of the reasons why VersaPay ARC can really claim the highest e-adoption of users to our collections and payment platform out of anyone out there. Now, once a customer is into the platform, there's payment acceptance rules that can be put into place to, again, really offer all the preferences and options to the customer that they want. You might have limits on credit cards, so a minimum or maximum, so you're not accepting a $50,000 Visa payment or something like that. There can also be incentives placed on customers to make payments on the platform. So for instance, giving a time limit as to when credit cards can be used really draws people into the platform because they know they have a limited time to use their corporate card to process a payment. It's a great way to actually bring in adoption to the platform and, of course, lower DSO. And these rules can be applied to different segments of your business. So if there's some customers that you want to accept credit cards, some that you don't, whatever the case might be, it can be programmed within the system. Here you'll see where customers also have that ability to schedule payments. If they're on terms, they can just have it processed on the due date. They can specify a day of the month, or they can just have it pay immediately. Short payments are also permitted within the system if that's something that you accept. If not, we can make it uneditable so that payments are either paid in full or disputed. If short payments are permitted, a reason code is always required. We would load in your reason codes that you already have set up in JDE. These are just some examples. So if a short payment is being made, your collectors will know, well, that customer just wanted to have it spread across several different payment methods. Or, oh no, there actually is a dispute and the customer is not planning on paying the balance of the invoice. Your collectors will be notified of these things right away so that they can take whatever appropriate action they need to in order to recoup the rest of that payment. Additionally, customers have the ability to opt in for autopay. This is where they would be able to, select a payment method or add a payment method, schedule exactly when they want those payments to be made, and apply maximums as well. This is really great for recurring billing. So if a customer knows that their monthly invoice or their biweekly invoice is usually around $5,000, they can establish a maximum. And anytime there's overages or additional payments or anything like that that are required, that would actually require the customer to come into the platform to approve it or pick a different payment method. Again, these sorts of things just really offer options to your customers. Customers can pay based on their preferences, and you can exert a little bit of control over some of those options that are presented to them. The more options that you give to your customers to make payments, the higher adoption there is to the platform, and typically, again, you see benefits like the DSO decreasing over time. Now, all of these payments, once they're processed through ARC, are going to be passed back to JDE for full automated cash application. So there's no manual aspect for any payments that are made through ARC itself. VersaPay ARC knows the invoice that's being paid, knows to apply the payment at the right place and close the AR or show the remaining balance in JDE if it was a partial payment. Now, if we just go back to the Invoices tab here, the customer would be able to see all of their outstanding in AR, including any scheduled payments that they might have in place, and credits if that's something that you want the customer to have visibility to. We can also certainly hide it. We can even allow customers to apply credits to their invoices. They can select multiple invoices and credits, just sort of like a shopping cart experience, and choose to pay them all at once, or just pay the invoices one at a time. Now, just to sort of wrap up here, one thing that we noticed consistently across all verticals, all industries, was that certain customers or certain collectors were really leaning towards using their mobile devices in order to view invoices and make payments. That's really a preference thing. There are some people who like to do everything on their phone. There's some people who want to wait until they're in front of a computer before handling things like this. So in realizing we needed to give a positive experience, whether they're on the web or on their mobile device, VersaPay went about creating an enhanced mobile experience for customers. It's not an app that they have to download from an app store or anything like that. They can literally bring open or bring an email up on their phone for an overdue invoice or one that's just been issued. They can tap the link. It'll take them right into ARC, just like you saw on the web, but on their phone. They can view invoices. They can download PDFs of the invoice. They can register a payment through an existing payment method, adding a new one. They can choose when they want that payment to be made, and again, make short payments and raise disputes as needed. So really, the goal of our research and development and a lot of the work that we put into ARC, especially in the customer portal, is to really remove as many roadblocks, as many clicks as possible between the customer receiving an invoice and ultimately making a payment on an invoice. And by giving them as many options as they need when it comes to making payments and incentivizing them to do so, really, once again, helps create that positive customer experience around, of all things, paying their invoices. So that's really our goal here, and hope that came across in both the web and mobile portal here. So at this point, that's a high-level overview of both the collections and the customer-facing portal. Pass it back to Ryan just to kind of lead out with some comments here.
So thanks, Sean. Brooke, I think we were going to relaunch that second question on the poll. Then maybe after the poll's been completed, we can open up to some Q&A.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, let me get this here. All right, so the question is, how many hours a week does your finance team spend on collection activities? And then there's the answers down here: 1 to 5, 6 to 10 hours, 11 to 15, 16 to 20, and 21 to 25. So I'll give you just a minute to answer that. So far it's showing 100% of people, oh, it just changed, okay. It looks like the majority right now, 67%, is 11 to 15 hours.
Okay, perfect. So that's great feedback. Between the two different polls, if we look back at the beginning poll, there seemed to be opportunities to increase efficiency, as you know, I think there was quite a bit that had 40+% of term invoices over term. And you know, if we look at this poll, you know, 11 to 15 hours a week spent on collection activities. So one of the questions posed is, if we were to put an automated solution in, you know, how would that dramatically affect your overdue invoices, as well as could we be reallocating some of those hours that we spend on collections back into the business with more, with stronger business acumen, correct?
Great. Well, thank you. Is there anything that any follow-up before we go into the closing slides here?
I think at this point in time, we can definitely open up some Q&A, and then after that, I'll close out and thank everybody for the time.
Okay, sounds good. So just as a quick follow-up, thank you guys so much, Ryan and Sean, for your presentation. And I just want to cover a few follow-up items, and then we'll move into our question and answer section of the webcast. And our webcast today is a part of GSI's free ongoing educational webcast series on JD Edwards. And our upcoming webcasts are currently listed on the screen. And to view our most up-to-date schedule, just go to getgsi.com/webcasts. And if you would like to sign up for our weekly email reminders for upcoming webcasts, our monthly newsletter, or create an account to access our resource center, you can go to getgsi.com and then go to Platforms on the main menu and select the appropriate link on the left-hand side here. All right, I see we have a couple of questions, and I just want to remind you that if you'd still like to submit a question, you can do so through the questions panel in the GoToWebinar console window on the right side of your screen. And if you minimized, just click the left-facing arrow key to redisplay the questions panel. All right, so our first question today is from Mark, and he says, can I put controls around credit card payments?
Yeah, that's a great question, and short answer is absolutely. So our solution really allows you to build out a corporate policy in how you want to accept credit card payments. As Sean had mentioned, it could be with regards to thresholds. You know, if there, you know, a certain amount that you are willing to accept up to for credit cards, let's just say $5,000 for instance, we have the ability to do such. Other scenarios might be, you know, certain customers may have in their terms that they can pay by credit card. So we only allow credit cards to be accessible to those customers. And then the last scenario that I'll give you, which is quite common, is parlaying the fees, merchant service fees associated with a credit card. That there are rules behind that based on jurisdiction. You know, there are certain percentage points that you can go to, but a solution like ours will allow you to potentially either put a flat dollar amount as long as it's under that jurisdiction limit, or do a percentage, again, as long as it's under that jurisdictional limit. So we absolutely have the ability to configure how we accept credit cards today.
Okay, great. We have another question here from Bill, and he says, "Can I attach supporting documentation like a sales order or sales agreement?"
Yes, absolutely. Again, so what we like to do is, if you have it in a mutual folder like an SFTP, we have the ability to pull that documentation into our platform using unique data to the invoice as well as the supporting documentation. We're able to merge those two within our platform and automate the way that we send it out. Your customers would be able to see that supporting document potentially in their email if you have it included, or if they log into the platform under the attachments segment, they would be able to see that supporting documentation. This really adds a lot of value for a lot of clients due to, if you think about the workflow today for scenarios like this, a lot of the time it is drag and drop, where you would have to find that file, upload it to an email, type the email, or put a canned email out and send it. Our solution is going to automate that completely by just using the unique identifiers to merge all that and send out. So absolutely.
Yeah, and just to add to it, it can be done manually as well if there is no SFTP option or anything like that. There's a lot of rules that can be put into place around supporting docs. If a supporting doc is always required, but might not be ready at the same time that the invoice is being posted, the invoice can be held within ARC, and then as soon as the supporting doc is located and attached to the invoice, it'll only send and present out to the customer at that point. So lots of rules and customization when it comes to supporting docs.
Yeah, thanks for that point, Sean.
Okay, great. And we have one more question from Valerie, and she says, "Are there any metrics on adoption ratings for the customer portal?"
Yeah, that's another great question. So one of the items that we pride ourselves on here as an organization are our adoption rates. There are a couple reasons why we have the adoptions that we do. One being, Sean had mentioned, tokenization of email, allowing them to have that one-click experience. We also support through the implementation process, you get to work with a customer success manager, which will roll out what we call our Spark strategy. It's really a marketing campaign to get your customers aware of the platform that's coming, update them on the benefits as to why they would use it. That being said, currently today, if we were to review the metrics, 81+% of organizations review their invoices online. And of that 81+%, we have 40% payment. So if we were to look at the competitive marketplace, the platforms that we compete with, a lot of the time, we're seeing anywhere between 30–40% adoption with 10–15% payment. So there are reasons as to why we're a leader in this space, and we're going to continue to be, because we're definitely focused on that customer experience and adoption.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much. That appears to be the end of our questions today. Thank you so much, Ryan and Sean, for your presentation today, and everybody for joining us, as well as your questions. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, yes, Brooke, I want to thank you as well as everybody on the line today for attending. Brooke, thank you for putting this on. Thanks to the GSI team for doing such. So thank you for having us.
Oh, yeah. Thank you guys so much. And just as a follow-up from today's webcast, we ask that you complete a short 1-minute survey when you exit, and you will be receiving an email with a link to our resource center on our website, where you can access a recording from today's webcast as well as a copy of the presentation. And after today's webcast, we will do the drawing for the $25 Amazon gift card, and anyone that attended the entire webcast will be eligible, and we will notify the winner. And if you do have any follow-up questions for myself, Ryan, or Sean, you can see our contact info on the screen currently. And thank you again so much, and we hope that you guys have a great day.